Welcome back, friends and family, to VCT Stage 2 Challengers Week 1. We just saw really a masterclass in how to play a half on Haven from Envy. Now XSET are going to have to find a way to respond or avoid taking a trip down to the lower bracket. I'm Doug, with me is Lex, and Lex, first half looked good, right? It was close up until it really wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, XSET did a good job of teasing us. I mean, 6-6 at halftime, and they certainly looked like they were able to take it to Envy at a few different points in that game. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you're rooting for at home, Envy just showing us the caliber of play that they can bring to the table, and I think describing it as a runaway second half is an understatement, quite literally denying XSET from even winning a single round. Envy looking crisp.
Yeah, and you really, we'll take a look at the timeline of what went down on that map, and that really just kind of highlights the dominance with which Envy was able to really dismantle XSET in that second half, and a lot of it really was off the back of Victor and what he was able to do with that run it back. But then also, there were a couple of moments where we saw Envy in a position to land key shots, primarily in the hands of Mummy. This is one of them. And they delivered, right? Like, they answered the call every time. They put themselves in advantageous positions, and they handled those well, and I think that's a key difference maker. I mean, look at the timeline, Lex. That's ugly.
That tells quite the story. And I think, kind of going back to what you were just saying about Mame, it was a little bit of a risky investment dropping that operator on, what it was, round 3, right? On the bonus there for Envy. So you've got 4 Spectres and an operator, and you just got to make do with what you got. But he finds the opening pick. I think he even had a second one in the round, and that can be, a huge difference maker in the outcome of a match, and certainly not winning a single round throughout the rest of the game for XSET. They were definitely feeling the heat of that operator on the table there for Envy.
Yeah, they really were. And we're going to take a look at things in a minute, but we highlighted Victor yesterday, and, well, you see why, right? Like, dude was out of his mind, and then we talked about Mummy at the beginning again, landing key shots with the operator, answering the call when Envy needed him to most, and it really was smooth sailing in the second half. Now, with that in mind, let's drop that into the rearview mirror a bit. Let's talk about what's before us here, because Haven, again, didn't go well for XSET, but we are going to Ascent, where, as you mentioned at the beginning of the series, this could be the difference maker. This could be what decides the series.
Yeah, I think this map, even in contrast to Haven just now, yeah, I could build it up the same way, but I really think both these teams are going to be comfortable and have a game plan coming in here. I think you're going to have a little bit less to not necessarily worry about, but, the threat of Mame isn't as pronounced as it is on a map like Haven when they have that operator in play. You look to guys like Crashies to really make a difference for Envy, especially towards that B side of the map. For XSET, if you've done your homework, if you've at least to some degree, produced a game plan and maybe countered some of the things that Envy like to do. This is your one opportunity really to kind of bring yourself back into the series, right? So they got to make it count now.
And to be clear, the composition that we saw on Haven is likely what we're going to see on Ascent for Envy. That's what they showed us yesterday against version 1. The one difference on the side of XSET is that the composition is not the same. Here's where we see Weeded pop over onto the Phoenix historically. We'll see if that is the case this time around, while Aaron switches to the Astra. Now, Lex, given what you've seen from XSET, what are your thoughts on putting Weeded onto Duelist on this map in particular?
I just love that they're willing to shake things up. Obviously, for Weeded in particular, he plays a lot of different kinds of roles for his teams in terms of, being able to bust out a Viper, an Omen, an Astra. Now we're seeing him on essentially a Duelist. Having that kind of a range as a player, it's not something you see typically on every roster, but
right.
Usually 1 or 2 players kind of can have that capability. And for him, just being able to deliver day in, day out and the fragging power while playing these different roles, it's pretty important. But then, kind of to your point, Doug, when you're moving specifically into a Duelist role, it's a little bit, to say it's a little bit different than playing a controller is a hell of an understatement, but your job on a team definitely changes drastically. And suddenly you go from being somebody who needs to stay alive on retakes, needs to make sure that they're using their utility first. Suddenly you're a playmaker. And so I think, for him, as long as he gets into that mindset, we can see some good things from him here.
Certainly more of an opportunity to play loose, to bring some of that into the fold. We've hopped into Agent Select, and again, we're going to deliver as expected. Aaron, historically on the Rays, is going to be using the Astra this time around, and we did on that Phoenix that we've highlighted, and this is going to be a fun duel to watch. You've got Victor's Phoenix, really, I mean, top tier Phoenix. We've talked about it. We talked about it on Haven. I'm sure we're going to talk about it here on Ascent, going up against Weedid's Phoenix, and we'll see what they're able to bring into the fold. Again, folks, map 1 really went heavily in favor of Envy in the second half. Now XSET looking to avoid a trip down to the lower bracket, or into the lower bracket here on Ascent. Now, Lex, we talked about XSET and how they changed things around. You even see Thwifo going to be using the Killjoy instead of the Cypher. For Envy, was there anything that you saw that concerned you about the composition that we had on the previous map?
From Envy, almost none whatsoever. I mean, they are. It seems like even when you maybe are going to throw something into question for Envy, like especially Mame, I feel like in the context of, you know, podcasts and streams that I've watched, a lot of people are like, "Why are you switching around the agents of Mame?" Well, man, he's somebody who's just consistently comfortable with the operator in his hands, and even if you try and draw scrutiny to the composition itself, I feel like these players are just, you know, world-class talents that are going to deliver for you each and every time.
Oh boy. All right, XSET starting off on attack, leaning towards A, where there is a metric ton of Killjoy utility.
Oh my
waiting.
God, 4 players too.
I mean, that's a bad stack. They've managed to take the spike up the middle of the map on Cat into Tree, and yeah, Tree's gonna be fine, but there are a few problems here. It's gonna be really hard to get in through a door, and Food's on the other side. Right, as soon as they funnel in, there he is! Victor already good for 2 with the Frenzy. Mummy's good for 1 as well. Just a couple of members remaining on the side of XSET. Thwifo's left alone in a 1v3. The spike is in no man's land. This is a difficult ask for Thwifo.
Difficult ask is an understatement. There are a few weakened players, you know. Get the consolation prize of the orb. I like it.
Yeah, man. Take what you can get.
Yeah, if you can get a few frags here, you know, you can hang your hat on that, because fact is your team just walked into a 4 stack with Killjoy utility. I don't know if there was a read there, it was a straight gamble, or if XSET in their Vons only go A on pistol, but Envy with one hell of a read to start this half.
Well, and like Lex, we talked about, right? Like it was there, right? It was like watching a train wreck unfold before your eyes. You know you're not going to be able to get in through a door, which is why Thwifo's still alive. And meanwhile, Victor's on the other side of Tree, waiting with the Frenzy. There were just so many things that...
10 seconds left.
Yeah, an excellent read, call it what you will. It pans out beautifully for Envy. And yeah, they did lose Victor and Mummy, but I mean, they read XSET like a book there.
Yeah, they come away from that round looking like absolute geniuses. The meat grinder right here, the crossfire, just, you're seeing nothing but inks light up your screen, man. There's just sparks flying. And we take the pistol, and we expect a conversation about, you know, momentum. You gotta expect Envy carrying the powerful second half that we saw on Haven into Ascent here. That's a scary thing on the attack side of XSET, where you got 0 rounds in the prior map. So gotta figure Envy is gonna put their foot on the gas and not let go for as long as they can. 2 early kills coming in for Caboose here at A main as well.
Yeah, and like the gun difference is going to be very heavily felt in this round, but you're already seeing XSET kind of go back to how they normally play maps on the attacking side. Thwifo, again, playing the sniffer on the opposite side of the map, making sure nobody's lurking their way in while they heavily press somewhere else, and then they can choose if they want to flip the map or not. But it's already a change from what we saw on the attacking side on Haven, where they, for by and large, were just bunched up in a death ball trying to brute force their way into sites.
I'm pretty caught up on the reference to Thwifo being the offset man, as being referred to as the sniffer. I love it.
You like that? You dig
just sniffing
sniffer?
things out, man. Just over there, up to no good. Trying to find an opening for his team. He did right there, but here will be the first rifle round for the side of XSET. Strapped a bit on some light armors, which pulling up against some, I say some, 4 Spectres and an operator on the side of Envy. This is a lot like the start of Haven, where that investment early on into the operator. You know, Mame already looking for a pick towards A main. We'll find nothing. So that information alone, pretty darn valuable for Envy, knowing that XSET is occupying outside of B site and middle. And be adjusted accordingly. 2 players towards Pizza, 1 at B main. That's Rashi's dropping the Aldron early, so that information comes through that the B push is potentially there. They've yielded B main and quickly XSET press forward.
Yeah, and the thing is, Envy should know this at this point, right? Because they spotted Wifo booting out, and then BCJ used his drone, so they have a decent idea that the hit's coming towards B. They have market control, and again, the spike is in a brutal spot where Pure dashed in, he dropped it. Victor on the side, looking to get an opening in with the curveball. He's able to do just that. As members of Envy are starting to drop. This is an excellent response from XSET. Aaron on the Astra. Good for 3 already. We'll see what Mike can do with the operator on a 1v3. It looks like he might just try to save it. We saw such a fruitful return on investment when he bought the op in the bonus on Haven. Look, at this point, he's lucky if he's able to keep it into the next round.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty big if XSET could, you know, somehow get it out of his hands, but they're very aware of the fact that holding on to these 3 Phantoms, trying to lose them to the likes of an operator over at Defender Spawn, that is just not a cost that you're willing to pay at this point. So you'll probably let him have it, but this is a, you know, kind of to what you're saying, Doug. It's a very different story being told just in this round. You think about how devastating it would have been if they lost it here, because that snowball effect on Haven really, really made it hard for them to even find openings at any point.
Well, they didn't.
Yeah, ever. I don't think they ever come out with an opening frag in that half. But hey, you just won your first round here, and it may have taken the entire map to win an attack side round, but considering we're only 3 rounds into this bout, for Ascent at least, that's a fantastic start.
You see stars littering your mini map as XSET's posturing towards B. They have a full stack over there. Nobody's sniffing anything out. They want to go aggressive. He did with the curveball, getting his way in. Looks like they have a couple of good lineups to clear out anything happening across market. The curveball's there as well. Caboose looking to stay alive. And he's not going to be able to. 2 members of Envy remain. An operator in the hands of Mummy, and then FNS with the Spectre. And again, a question where, I mean, they can choose to go for it here.
Imagine
it won't be easy.
See whether or not Mummy can find one, and then... Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Aaron using that Cosmic Divide early on. I mean, sure, that's going to buy you time. Looking to see if he can get any info. Just peeking on the other side of the wall. And it looks like for Envy, the win here might be just having drawn that out.
Yeah, FNS is going to do what he can to make sure that they aren't able to get away with these guns.
Oh, wow. FNS creeping through the Cloudburst, good for 2, and oh, man. Yeah, they dealt the damage. The spike's going to go off, but what an excellent, really, like, trap they put XSET into.
Yeah, you give 2 more points on the ultimate towards that lockdown for FNS. 1 more for Mame, and even more importantly, as you're saying, you're limiting the economic advantage that you're going to give to XSET by losing that round. You know, they're going to have to rebuy quite a bit. Got light armor on BCJ to make sure he's got utility, and no one on the side of XSET now has, you know, any kind of sizable economy for rounds in the future. So,
nope.
On the other side of things, Envy, where they invested in this operator early, definitely were a little stunned on the bonus. Weren't able to clean up the following round, and now, you know, you maybe lost the prior round to XSET, but you've maintained that operator, and you've got the ultimate coming out early here from Wife over at NA.
And not only that, but they put the ult orb in Weeded's pocket to get that run it back online, and sure enough, he uses it to pave the way to get onto the site. The thing is, because of the lockdown, they're respecting that. They're not playing it aggressively, so the run it back doesn't really grab very much value at all. We'll see what Victor can do with his as Caboose gets one with the showstopper. Crashies. Spidey senses tingling, understanding that there was one in the smoke. He gets it, but he drops it. Mummy's Frenzy And really, Envy across the board, they're able to retake that site, having only dropped 2 legs.
Yeah, that was an interesting post plant there for XSET. I feel like sometimes when we're watching these teams on Ascent, specifically on A, the amount of times you see teams partially hiding, partially fighting, the entire Envy roster just walked across heaven basically and into the site through a door uncontested. You saw Pure just trying to hide in his own cloudburst in the middle of the site, teammate hiding deep in hell, and it just seemed very disjointed. And unfortunately, you know, giving Envy a clean round win there means not only are you going to be strapped this round, you got a couple Spectres, a Frenzy in the hands of Pure, because you're going to have the Blade Storm, but you've got a mostly broken buy here. Envy keeping all their weaponry and then some. It's a tough spot to be in here for XSET, because as I'm saying, you hope for at least a few more kills on that retake, even though you lose it. Early Hunter's Fury from BCJ, clear out that tree area, no tags. Door closed now, so Pure stalled for the moment. At any moment, this A split's underway, Doug.
Yeah, and you can tell they're trying to force in, right? They've invested a couple of ultimates, and this might be why. Pure is already good for 2 with the Blade Storm, not able to land another. The curveball from Victor proving to be too much. As Caboose was on the flank, he takes away Cat. There is no control in Tree. The thing is, XSET do have 3 members on the site, and they have decent weaponry, right? Couple Spectres and Phantom in the hands of Weeded. Caboose going to be the first on the swing. He's going to drop. Victor looking to find some of his own spots. One player looks for a second, does it, and Crashies took care of Weeded. Envy once again showing proficiency in taking the site back. XSET, they didn't bring great guns into this, but this was certainly a winnable round.
Yeah, I won't read too much into that post plant considering what I had just spoken on, but hey, those entries from Pure, considering, as you said, limited weaponry, limited opportunity to really win that round, you bust out a couple ultimates, Hunter's Fury, a Blade Storm, and it ends up, you know, getting the spike plant down, pressuring Envy a bit to at least invest some weaponry to retake that, but really isn't going to do anything horrendous to their economy. You've still got another buy to deal with. If you just check out the inventory there on XSET, you've got a couple Buckies, a Frenzy, a Sheriff, and a Vandal. We'll see what they can do with it now as they mostly pressuring towards mid with all 5 players.
And you'll often see teams in a light buy, in a broken buy like this, try to exploit the middle of the map to at least take some space away. Crashy spotted it early, and now that was a spike carrier too. The Hunter's Fury taking BCJ out.
Pure made up a lot of ground there, just dodging the Hunter's Furies. And I wonder whether or not... Yeah, okay, so they're going to go ahead, try and pressure Tree a little bit. And if they had gotten that kill, maybe you're able to draw a rotate, but there's still 3 players from Envy who are very aware of the fact they've given up mid. They don't have control of B main. They don't really know where the last remaining players of XSET are, so that ground that Pure had just made really is kind of useless at this point, as no traffic will come to pass.
See the nano swarms coming out. Should be a pretty decent indicator of what's coming. As the door gets shot through, Victor, though, and he's just so consistent. He's so reliable for Envy. The spike's down again in a really brutal spot. Pure has to go in. A great flash, able to get one, but gets shot right in the back of the head as he's not able to respond to that at all. Weeded left alone with 5 health. The hot hands almost enough to take him out. We'll see if he's able to do anything with the Sheriff. Yep, okay. That certainly helps, but again, still in a 1v4 box.
Not sure if the ult orbs... Yeah, okay. Gonna grab the ult orb.
10 seconds left.
And when he dies, you'll have his running back for the next round. So, you know what? Whatever. Just go ahead, swing, take a fight.
Yep.
Count that as a consolation moving into the next round. And Envy, who have just, you know, for many rounds now leading into the last map, have looked extremely confident and very strong. They managed that broken buy from XSET very well. Another gun round coming up now. See Victor topping the scoreboard at 11-4. Another standout performance from the Phoenix.
And he's got the run it back here. FNS is going to have the lockdown mummy 1 point away from the Cosmic Divide. Meanwhile, not the same luxury as far as ultimate economy goes for XSET. They do have rifles, and you find yourself in a position here, Lex, where this half, I mean, you could already make an argument that it's getting out of hand, but you're still in a position where you can salvage it, but you've really got to start here. You've got to get something going if you're XSET.
Yeah, and they have 5 players ready to go here at B, and there's only 1 player directly on the site. Crashies is now here to help FNS, but that Killjoy ultimate, that lockdown, Gonna delay things indefinitely. They have no way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Suddenly, XSET, who have taken no map control in the round, were expecting to just walk into B with an execute, run into some killjoy utility, then the lockdown, and now we're at a standstill where they've somehow got to reclaim map control without being too obvious about it. Already Mame in a dangerous angle here at mid, reposts on it, Pure pays the price, and now it's a 5v4, and that glimmer of hope that XSET had in this half that you were illustrating for us, BCJ wants it back so bad, walking all the way up to defender's spawn, a greedy position, but perhaps one that will pay off dividends if he's able to find anything here, Doug.
Aaron's still playing pretty far back. Victor wise to the fact that they've given up middle of the map control. Got one, got traded out. But the thing is, there are still 2 remaining members on the side of Envy. Well, there were until Twyfo took care of him. There's a lockdown coming up from Twyfo himself. Mummy's up. Not good that time. The Classic isn't going to do it either. They somehow managed to establish enough control to be able to work their way towards A. He did. Still has that ult in his back pocket. 10 seconds left. The wall's going to go up. The spike's going to go down. And now it's going to be on Envy in a 2v3. Numbers disadvantage to take the site back. And again, they're going to be coming in from the same angle. Up in heaven. We did good for 1. FNS trades it out. FNS not able to make any magic happen. A 3K for Weeded. He didn't use the run it back. He's able to bring that into the next round. And Lex, that did not look good at the beginning, right? Like,
no.
You almost looked at the situation and went, oh, B's going to be free, right? Like, there's only one player there, but the lockdown alone really almost set the round in a complete tizzy.
Yeah, and I think it was actually, I was kind of painting it as being dangerous, but the decision to regroup and reset there towards tiles and mid, you know, Envy luckily hadn't taken any sort of, you know, aggressive positions there, despite the fact that Mame had found that pick it back mid. You almost felt like XSET had no other option but to re-hit it or move into a B split perhaps, but BCJ kind of leading the charge, and Twyfo with 2 huge entries over there at defender spawn really turned the tide of the round, and we saw Weeded with some heroics as well to finish it out. Victor's gonna pop his run it back. It's a lot of information that players over here they made. And that set hot hands towards Cubby, finds one onto Aaron, and Weeded, blind as all heck towards Bike, will fall. And now this is a 5-on-3 with XSET limping already in this round.
And like, again, the damage has been done, right? In the previous round, it was the lockdown that really set things sideways. This time, it was the run it back. But can XSET pull something out of their hats again, right? They were able to take care of Victor. They were kind of try to equalize things a bit, or at least tip them a bit more towards their favor. But the clock is not their friend. Envy's playing very defaulty because they have a numbers advantage. They can. XSET, they're going to have to decide something here soon.
Yeah, at this point, I don't wholeheartedly know that there's an easy answer or solution to their problems, but they're doing this again where, okay, the round's falling apart, 25 seconds left, let's go hit something, contact it together, and trade it out.
Crashies. Good for 1, trades out. There's only one remaining member
again
on the site. Yep, and Twyfo once again goes huge. Caboose drops. Members of Envy are going to have to rotate over as the spike goes down. And somehow, XSET find themselves in a spot where the beginning of the round goes absolutely sideways, and they might walk away with this dang thing.
Yeah, it comes once again off the back of the heroics of Twyfo. The round isn't over yet. Still in a 2v2 with his man BCJ.
Twyfo playing aggressive. Oh, beautiful. Twyfo swings and FNS responds even more beautifully. BCJ good for 1. He's going to have to dance around the generator. Not able to take care of things. Mummy's Classic does. As BCJ drops, Mummy's going to get the defuse. Envy get to 6.
So close, and considering how that round went, you really can't be too upset if you're XSET, because that round seemed as though there was no way you're even going to get a spike plan out of it, and yet drawing it down to the final moments in a 1v1 with the Classic being the decider. You know what? Considering it's 6-3 now, it definitely has felt as though in a few of these rounds, Envy just let them slip through. That almost was one more, but you know, considering the economic situation is in dire straits for XSET here, Doug, I wonder whether or not, you know, they've tried a few different times in this half to kind of roll into a 5-man exec early. Tried to play it fast and loose for a moment or two over there towards B main and found some success. And also got stuffed just as often.
They may try it again. BCJ has the Hunter's Fury, right? And previously we saw them invest that to clear out tree with Purer's Blade Storm. This time not the case. Purer works his way into tree for free. But again, they've got to deliver up close and personal into Victor's front pocket, and Victor dismisses and disposes of him with relative ease. BCJ is left alone here. He's got the Bucky, looking to see if he can pick up a weapon. There's nothing there. A 1v3. Yep. And the classic shot was nice, but it wasn't enough to land the kill. Caboose takes care of him. And for XSET here, I mentioned earlier, we saw him in a position like this before where they heavily invested ultimates to try to win the round. This time, they're going to carry it into a rifle.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with it. You mentioned it, BCJ was using his Hunter's Fury early on in this game to clear out the tree position to make the A split a bit easier. And right there, I don't think the read was terrible. They knew Victor was inside of a main, and they just like, hey, we'll pinch him from tree side, but it didn't end up working out. So another Hunter's Fury off the rip, trying to create that space. Run it back, gets popped from Weeded. Immediate deletion from Generator, and counter Hunter's Fury is accompanied by a three-piece from FNS, who holds tall, strong, and fast at the front of the A site. And now it's just Aaron and BCJ once again finding themselves in a very, very disadvantaged position in a round, and there's already a double flank. Yikes. Backside of this map, and there's just nowhere to go. Aaron's backed into Wine, executed there by Victor, who finds 2 on the round. Accompanied by that three-piece from FNS, and things are looking so good for Envy.
Yeah, and honestly, yes, things looking very good for Envy, but also that was a round where XSET had the tools to make something happen, right? Like you saw him invested early, the early Hunter's Fury out of BCJ, the run it back from Weeded, not netting anything, right? And then you see a couple of ultimates coming out in response. It's a bit scary for XSET given how that round went.
Absolutely. And when you do have all those tools available to you, not able to capitalize, not only is that, you know, in the grand scheme of things, a terrible outcome for your prospects of winning the map and potentially keeping the series hopes alive. There's that defensive lockdown again from FNS. It's just going to stunt any sort of aggression at B early on from XSET. They've got to turn around, reset, grab map control that they don't have already, and this is just Envy one step ahead each and every time in these rounds.
It really is. And the thing is, you mentioned have to retake map control. BCJ didn't have very much on the other side, right? Like there was nobody across the middle. BCJ was still playing back.
B main, Mume's about to make contact. There it is. Thwifo thought he had a home free B main. And Envy, who popped that lockdown, they used it to take control back. And look at this. Victor in advance spotted. Wow. Okay.
Spike down.
Okay.
Victor not able to land anything, but Caboose is so like this is almost, it almost has the same effect as the lockdown, right? But this time it actually walks away with a kill. They have to respect that ultimate. It just buys time. You're just delaying over and over, and XSET are in a position where like, all right, we took care of the lockdown. We waited out. Well, they didn't. But the showstopper's offline. Now you have 11 seconds. You've got to go. And then Envy just has excellent site control. They're able to control the pinpoints into the site. There's no way in for XSET.
That looked so easy for Caboose, just from, I think it was Victor's perspective over in Wine. The paint shells came in. Showstopper came out, and quickly XSET was silenced, and a dominant half from Envy. Just start to finish, there was a few opportunities for XSET to really bring the game back. Economically speaking, they didn't let Envy just run away with it right away. And in a few late round odd man situations, you know, they were winning, I think it was like a 3v5 and almost a 3v4 to the round after that. So XSET looked alive individually at different points, but, you know, as a team, they just seem to be either underperforming or just straight up outclassed by the likes of Envy once again here on Ascent. Not too unfamiliar considering how Haven went.
We'll see if XSET is able to find more success on the defensive side of the map. Envy has already taken the middle. They're working their way all up into the belly of the beast. They've taken market control. They also have FNS who's working his way in through B. My gosh, BCJ never stood a chance, Lex.
Yeah, just getting mauled on the B site. No help from any teammates, and all 4 players from XSET are flying in through defender spawn, retaking switch, and Crashing will be the first to find one.
This looks good for XSET. A 2v2 well, of course.
Wow.
That may have been my fault. As I say that, Envy just once again picks them apart, and Caboose was able to take care of that final round with, I think he had like 13 health left.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is, I don't know when this started happening for XSET, but it definitely was at some point on Haven. They just look frantic, right? Like there was like a huge rush to retake right there. They all go together. It looks like it's got some momentum behind it, and then Envy just crashing down and cascading those frags one after another.
Yeah.
And it just looks so easy for them, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that XSET, you know, having so little of a site control, having no market control, having no B main control on the retake.
Oh, man.
There's too many angles, and the Buckies haven't been too impactful here in this series, but we've seen them nonetheless. We'll find Moment of Frenzy, actually. But XSET already, I don't know, a 3-on-4 situation. Envy looking very comfy here in this anti-eco.
Yeah, and you know, you even saw at the beginning of the round, you mentioned how easy it seems sometimes for Envy. Victor just curveballed and then just walked up and grabbed the orb for free, right? And then he even went forward and got a kill to bring that run it back online. Yeah, he eventually lost his life, but you see it. I think that moment really highlights how easy it's been, how effortless it's been for Envy to take what they want when they want it.
Yeah, it really feels like Envy's able to bully XSET out of map control, and then they almost expect XSET is going to respect it, and each and every time they do. And unfortunately, trying to play against that when...
Oh, that's awesome.
They're just so confident.
Yeah, I love that little interaction there. The gravity well into the shock dart to try to really rip them apart. And there was some damage dealt, but at the end of the day, the outcome is as we would expect. BCJ drops there. Envy get to 11, and XSET are, I mean, they seem lost. Lex, they haven't been able to get anything going on either side of the map.
Victor is 20-9. This man is farming right now.
It's pretty good.
That's not bad. That's not bad. We'll count that as a W in his column, because as far as the individual performances goes,
Eyes up.
he has just been playing lights out on this Phoenix all day so far,
Revealing area.
which is what you hope for.
All right, Envy looking to take the matter towards A. There's a pretty considerable amount of Killjoy utility, and they have some presence in Tree Room, so we'll see if this A split works out while at Finesse sniffing things out towards B. Nobody's coming through. Nobody's home, but that should give some info. Nice shots from Pure. Looking for the second, not going to land, but there was damage that was dealt. And that was just enough, right? Like that Killjoy utility, just enough to delay, right? Make them think twice about it.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of alluding to what I was just speaking about a moment ago, where, you know, they've got the confidence to stand behind that Killjoy molly and just take gunfights, right? Because they don't expect XSET's going to be wide swinging anything, but Pure, finding a step of confidence of his own, wide swings it, takes the gunfight. Victor falls, who is basically standing in the middle of A main with no support whatsoever. So
Just fearless.
excellent start to the round, 5-on-4 now, and defensively, XSET postured decently to handle this B split that's underway now.
Spike down, B.
You mentioned they were postured decently. I'd say it was far more than that. We're starting to see some life out of XSET as the Flawless comes through just before that shock dart takes care of Pure. But again, for XSET, the important thing here is you're starting to see signs of life, right? Like they were in a great position there. The confidence from Pure to swing out in A heaven, to take that challenge and land the kill, and then really to have them walk into their crosshairs. That's important for XSET.
Yeah, and I think Pure, who played pretty darn well on Haven in the map prior, continuing, you know, he's 10-15. He's not as though it's just some standout performance, but that round in particular was for me where, you know, you take the ego challenge from A Heaven, you win your duel against the top fragger from Envy, collect 2 more with a brazen retake solo coming in through from defender spawn, basically.
Cool.
And as I say that,
Yikes.
Envy shuts it down. 2 huge kills coming out from Victor. Aaron able to trade one of them out, but now it's a 2-on-3. Still finds one of his own, but Aaron, a really uncomfortable duel there towards Tree. Mummy's going to clean that up with a running Phantom headshot. Crashes with another. And here we are, map and series point, Doug, 12-4 XSET on the road.
Match point.
And there it wasn't, I know we've talked about him a lot, but I mean, shoot, dude, he's 22-10. How do you not? It wasn't the run it back there that really popped off and gave him a ton of kills and a ton of space and information, what have you. It was what he did before that, right? Able to land a quick double into Weeded, and I believe it was Mummy who was right behind him, but either way, or excuse me, not we did Aaron who was on the other side. Either way, the damage that Victor's been able to inflict upon XSET, the presence that's felt, it's just so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, XSET seems a little off kilter. No. Even just going for that mid-peak. Fury doesn't find its mark, but we did, and Pure have pushed through A main now.
Yeah, they have. They've taken a ton of space away. They're going to push members of Envy back. And I like the aggression that we're seeing out of them while playing safe towards B, right? They have a ton. They have utility from Killjoy. They have Astra Stars. They also have a couple of members there, understanding that they can apply pressure that way on the eastern half of the map and still have safety in the middle and on the western side.
XSET now regrouping back towards the A side of the map. 3 players over here towards Catwalk for Envy. 3 players from XSET are here defense. So both teams reading this pretty darn well. But BCJ and We Did both getting caught out. Actually, Pure will still collect 2, so this is now an advantageous situation for XSET. Now down to a 2-on-1 as Mame finds his first. 20 seconds left, though. No spike plant yet.
He has the Cosmic Divide. If he can get it down, he can really play around that ultimate and make something happen. Meanwhile, Aaron and Dwifo don't have the same luxury, but you're seeing some of those stars come out. He only has 12 seconds left. He's going to have to go.
10 seconds left.
Mummy getting the spike down. 2 players waiting just on the other side. Dwifo able to take care of him. That was a brutal spot. That would have been absolutely bonkers had he pulled it off, but not going to be the case. Dwifo's going to get the defuse. XSET live to play another round.
Yeah, and I thought XSET really was kind of mirroring Envy's movements around the map exceptionally well. You had, 2 players in Tree Room ready for that aggression, that push to come out, and despite that, Envy came through, ended up getting the better end of that situation. Really, once again, the heroics of Pure kind of balanced things back out for the side of XSET and made that round manageable. And so 2 players survive on the retake, able to get at least, they're not exactly flush. You've got a Bucky on We Did. But considering you've caused Envy to, slip a bit economically, and so you've got a Vandal on Crashies, but, not a whole lot to work with on the rest of the team. So this is a round that XSET will hope to come away with, Doug.
Well, they won't have much of a choice. We did with the Bucky, as you mentioned. Nanoswarm is used. He does have the run it back. But patiently waiting this out. No aggression from XSET early on like we saw in the previous round. Just waiting for Envy to be the ones to show first, potentially make a mistake. Great sidestep of a Nanoswarm. He swings. He has to. He gets 1. Dwifo gets the second. That's pressure.
Yeah. And that is...
Oh, man.
Confidence now coming up from XSET, coming to bite BCJ in the face. Form of a Sheriff, and Pure's got 3 players coming in this tree position against him. Dwifo is there for backup. Finds 1, finds 2.
Nice.
Gets his 4th on the round, and Dwifo, so many times in this game, we've brought him up just as being the seemingly difference maker for XSET. The impact frags on the round wins that they are getting. So huge from him today.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of that was really built off of the pressure that they were able to apply on B. Right, getting those kills, and then instantly, as soon as those 2 kills come through, and We Did swings with the flash, realizes there's no one else there, you see them all flip towards A, and Dwifo was able to stand strong, get 4 huge kills, to again, live to fight another round, live to play it again. Oh man, they sniffed it out. Oh no, this could be trouble for XSET. Pure has already dropped. Caboose with the showstopper, good on to weed it as well. Things have gone absolutely sideways with Dwifo. Once again, looking to answer the call, looking to be the hero for XSET. Gets a couple of kills, a couple of insanely important kills to keep the round alive. Looking for more. Yeah, baby, that's 3. The spike's down. Things looking really good for XSET again.
And dropping the alarm bot and a turret to help defend. BCJ's pushed through B main to meet up, probably in defender spawn, yeah. So it's FNS with a minute to play with. Meandering through mid, just trying to set himself up for a clutch here, Doug.
No spike, and he does have the lockdown, but the other problem is XSET know where the spike is, so they're just going to squat on it. FNS is just going to have to like go nuts, land these shots, win the gunfight, but that's not going to be the case. BCJ finds him, disposes of him, and what's that now? 4 in a row for XSET?
Yeah, and a 3-piece coming off the back of a 4-piece for Dwifo. I mean, that round was so bad for XSET to open things up. They're like, okay, we're feeling confident. Let's go for some mid pressure. I'm going to pop, run it back. We're going to push out, pinch him at tiles. And yet, immediately, everyone's getting just murked, just decapitated, tossed aside, and a showstopper coming out from Caboose. You know exactly where Weedit's body's going to be.
Yep.
And it really just seemed like that was Envy's round locked up. And Pure and Dwifo have
That's big.
a few times in this game just drawn things back in the favor of XSET. Considering how well Envy is playing, they need every bit of that. Aaron finding 2 of his own. Huge kills.
Man, that's so pretty. Man, that looks good. The spray transfer on the Phantom out of BCJ, cleaning up Envy. And yeah, they didn't have great guns, but again, Lex, like when you're down 12 to, what was it, like 6? Or no, it was around like 4, right? It was like 12-4, 12-3, something like that. You really can't afford to make mistakes. And you find yourself in a position in an eco like that where you can easily like fumble it, right? Like things can easily go out of control. We see him in attack pause. Lex, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just gonna agree with you, Doug. I was excited there for Envy coming out of A main. It seemed as though 2 different players may have just been, out of step, out of position. Aaron resets behind the box, knowing he got seen, and him and BCJ both just chime in for collective dual frags apiece. In a different universe, Astra pun could have been made there, but I'll save you. In a different reality, you maybe lose that opening engagement. Aaron gets one sheriff shot to the face. BCJ gets shot in the back of the head, and you're in a 5-on-3 retake scenario. Envy really looked like it was just a matter of timing there coming out of A main instead.
Right.
XSET, like you said, were, positioned well enough to handle it, and they delivered on those kills, and they only lost 1 player, at the end of the day. So talk about mounting a comeback. You force Envy to attack pause, to rethink what they're doing a little bit here, and this is, I think, is already a nice response. Ooh, actually, as I say that, I say they're going to contest, but they're not. It's only towards A main right now.
Lex, it's free. They just got another ult in the hands of Crashies. They push through, and they're waiting for him with open arms. Mummy and Caboose are able to get a couple of kills apiece. They're going to flip the map, push over towards B. The lockdown's on the opposite side, so that's not going to be a factor. Pure looking to once again will his team back into a better situation, and so far, so good. Gets one with the frenzy. He has the operator. He's going to try to anchor back, and if you buy time for Dwifo, you may have a chance. There it is, but the Hunter's Fury looking to negate things. Dwifo takes care of Victor. Pure trying to stay alive, not able to do it. Mummy gets 3 to put XSET away. 13-8 for Envy.
That is a tough way to lose that round. Oh, especially if we were spectating it from Pure's perspective. A few missed opportunities, but Envy really just taking that tag pause. And really, I don't think they did anything tremendously special. They grabbed Orb A main, they regrouped back towards B for an execute. And the aggression coming out from XSET really just came back to bite them. 2-0 is the series. Envy in a dominant fashion take it over XSET.
And XSET, man, like XSET, they bubbled up, right? They showed signs of life. They were getting things going, but it was just too little too late, right? And, we mentioned at the beginning of that round how free those ult orbs had been. Victor already had his run it back. So for them to get that ult in the hands of Crashies, to then use the Hunter's Fury to really make an impact on what Dwifo was able to do in that round, I mean, if that's not a perfect example of the pain that's felt from giving up ult orbs for free, like, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and I really, man, throughout this entire series, if I was to go back, put my analyst hat on full force, I think it'd be a treat to see how Envy adjusts throughout this series, specifically on their defensive side to deal with whatever XSET throws at them. Because, I mean, think about how Haven went for sure, but then even here on Ascent, they maybe yielded a few more rounds, but Envy very much looked in control of this game.
Yeah.
And at no point did I really think XSET had an opportunity to come back.
Well, and even in the end of that map where it looked like there may be something happening, there may be something going on. I mentioned this earlier, but the problem is you find yourself in so deep of a deficit, you have to play perfect, right? And yeah, you can get away with perfect rounds 4, 5, even 6, right? But you're playing Envy, right?
Yeah.
They walked away with 4 rounds there. They won 5. They're only dropping round 16. That really was what started to get the snowball going. But again, the hole that they dug themselves was just too deep.
Yeah, I mean, even just starting from the very first pistol of the game, Doug, saw that 4-man stack towards A for Envy, and it ended up paying off, for them. But I just feel like FNS, the leadership over at Envy, the experience these guys have now, having played together for so long, it seems as though when they are clicking and they've got an appropriate handle on the outcome of the rounds that are going in their favor, they're able to dictate the pace. When they're able to execute their game plan, man, it is so impressive to watch them play against, even the caliber of XSET. They look dominant.
Yeah, I mean, Victor, I mean, what more can you say about his performance? It was just really from top to bottom, the value he was able to provide on that Phoenix, and really Pure. You mentioned him when things looked real bad for XSET, right? Where it didn't look like there was a sliver of hope. It was Pure who really who sparked, right, that flame, who started to get something going for XSET. So he had a great performance there, and then Thwyfo piled it on, but really there was just too much. And I'm pulling the stat out of memory, but I want to say it was 10 frag wins to 3 in favor of Envy. When you've got a Phoenix like that who's really able to take over, right? When you've got Crashy doing what he does there, when you've got so many things working for Envy, you see that play out.
Yeah, and it's not just, finding a first blood or an entry for your team all the time. I feel like there was so often where he's converting multi-kill rounds, and it's not as though they're just like wash away eco rounds, just pistols. Like most of the time, he's able to find those entries against, fully kitted out defenders. So well done to I almost called him Victor, and an excellent performance.
I think I did at one point in the middle of that match. But speaking of Victor, let's take a look at the player-player matchup. Now that the series is behind us, I know we're going to be highlighting Victor on one side and then Thwyfo on the other. 16.7% first blood percentage. Wow. 16 points. I mean, like you feel the pressure, right? Like you can't forget him. You have to track Victor wherever he is on the map, because at any given point in time, he can just like full send at your face and take 2 or 3 with him.
Yeah. On the other side of things, and hats off to Thwyfo. I know I talked about him a bunch in the last map, but on both maps, even on Haven, it seemed as though there was probably 2 or 3 rounds where without his individual performance, XSET would have had no shot in the rounds. And I mean, like, man down, odd man situations, he's playing 2, 3v5s and finding multi-kill frags in those rounds. And it's enough at times to overcome, the power of Envy to, get a few rounds on the board. It's not enough to win a match, obviously. So I think, his performance is something he can be proud of today for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at the bracket. Let's see how things are panning out, as once again, if you're just joining us, XSET put up a fight at the end there, but it was really Envy who was able to walk away with things, a 2-0 win. And it was really pretty across the board. Envy's going to advance for a date with 100 Thieves later on. Meanwhile, XSET's going to drop down. They're going to be matched up against Immortals that we're going to be seeing here in a moment. And, obviously with that comes the fact that 100 Thieves made very quick work of Cloud9, a 2-0 win. Lex, did you expect that?
I did not. only because I think both of those teams, have a little bit of question marks over them for the past few weeks, especially with how Cloud9 blew dispatched of Immortals yesterday. I just kind of expected that to be a tight game, but
Yeah.
13-10, 13-6, 100 Thieves really kind of stole the show there.
They did. They look very good. Folks, we're going to cut to a break. I have good news for you, though. On the other side of the break, we have one more match to go. XSET's going to be fighting for tournament life against Immortals, who are doing the same. They've been waiting. They've been watching. And now they're going to get a chance to advance in the tournament. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go anywhere.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+, as well as Discovery+, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups, always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt,
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.